This CPL next couple games could not go better for a neutral like myself
Oh yeah.
because 1-1 Pacific isn't a pushover for sure. You think Forge has got enough power to really push in to get that win to get them over the hump, but they make it 1-1 on a beautiful even game, and the first goals are like right at the beginning.
Yep.
I was thinking, okay, well, this. There's no way that this isn't going to be a blowout of goals going back and forth, and then just not 1-1,
In
and
the
then
first 16 minutes.
just a constant
Uh,
like beautiful passing game, and then the shots are just like everyone's just taking pot shots.
yeah, like you said, Hochabapur. I can never pronounce that guy's name. Hochabapur, I think that's right. Scored in the 4th minute, and then again another guy's name I cannot say. So his name is Janssen, his last name, anyways. He scored on himself to tie it up for Pacific, and it's 1-1 in the first 16 minutes. You think this game would have a winner, but they don't. They stays 1-1, which is massive for Ottawa. Get in. And it's massive for Calgary. Don't give a shit. Massive for Valor, which come on, like this is a fun playoff race to watch. And honestly, not too bad for York. York, that is the perfect result for York because York's like, hey, we're still here. Don't forget about us.
Oh, it's genuinely taken the top four and completely like I don't want to say thrown it out of whack, but it's almost just given
Mm,
life to like a bigger race. Like this happening has just allowed this race to really whittle itself down.
oh, for
So
sure.
instead of it being like, okay, these are the four teams, there's your playoffs, like, we got them set.
Hmm.
You can start watching that bottom position shift in and out, and it creates that like bottom race, like the relegation races that
Oh yeah.
you get
Well,
excited for.
it's probably the best that we've seen in the CPL so far when it comes to the end of the season with the playoff race. Anyways, you have Ottawa still sitting on top. I think this is our 4th podcast in a row with Ottawa on top. Like we'll get in there, uh, but then obviously Calgary's challenging, and then you have Forge who still have a game in hand. So and then every time they drop points, we're just like, come on, like this, they keep doing it, and this is the longest time like Forge hasn't got a win in their franchise. Never mind the season. Like they're struggling, but I don't think it's because they're playing bad. I think teams just want it more, and Forge have never been really put on that pressure of teams that want it more. We haven't seen that. I don't think in all reality. It's definitely an exciting game. I think most teams have three games left. Forge does still have 4, and maybe Pacific have 4. I know there's a weird thing there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something to that effect. And I think one of the problems that you're right, like Forge, their issue is they don't get that level of competition that they're used to. And then everybody else pushing them hard. Well, I don't want to be like, oh, they're they're falling under their pressure, but I don't think that the teams are able to cope with it because every other time what would happen is they'd be way ahead. They'd be way further on, and now look at it. Like it's just not.
Yeah. Well, I
It's
think it's just the league's getting up to their level, and Forge can't take it back a step. But again, I think it's just the matter of want right now. On paper, I still believe Forge is probably the best team in the league. I don't think there's
yeah,
anyone going to argue that really. But they just have this thing about them right now. They just can't get going. I don't know if it's. I honestly don't know what it is. I can't say. But regardless, I still think Forge will be one of the teams in the playoffs. I can't see them being fall. I can't see them falling out, especially with the game in hand. And the last 4 games, it's going to bring more out of the players because it's going to be because again, if they keep dropping, it's going to get more urgent, right? So I think eventually they will step it up, and in the playoffs, Forge is still going to be difficult. They're still going to be
yeah.
dangerous. You can't sleep on Forge, but you also can't sleep on Valor because nobody wants to play a team in the first round who gets in there on the last game or so hot as hell. Nobody wants that game because that's going to come back and bite you on the ass because they are more ready because they've been playing playoff soccer for the last 2 months.
Oh, the pressure's on.
Hmm.
They're well rounded. They're seasoned veterans. I just think in a scenario, Forge just has so much experience, but I think their form now is and their history will work against them because
So
they've got that thing that they have to reach that they know everyone's expecting them to do, and so when they don't hit that, now all of a sudden it's like the pressure is
oh,
probably
for sure.
piling on top, and that's just going to have a negative effect. I mean,
Yeah, they're expected to win the table not before the playoffs, right? So
yeah,
It really is that scenario. So let me ask you this then. As of right now, 3 games left, and I'm sure we're going to ask this question every week up until the playoffs now. Who's in, who's out for you?
Again, your top three's in. So you've got Calvary, Atletico, Forge. They're in.
You think
100%.
they're kind of secure, yeah?
I think 100% they're secure. I just think that Atletico's proven again and again that they're resilient. It's just hard. It's hard to say that they're not going to, like, I think now it's impossible to say they're not going to be in there. Mathematically, maybe not.
Oh, no, yeah, definitely mathematically we can't.
But the thing, it's just their pressure. Calvary, again, probably one of the strongest teams, definitely. I think they work so well and they're really going to do it. Forge just has, I think, that mentality of do it or die. So failure's not an option in that regard. Yeah. And it's the 4 spot that I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Being on how it is, I think I would personally love to see York or Halifax in there. I would love that. I would just love to see one of those 2 teams climb their way up and steal that spot out. But at the same time, too, I think you're entirely right. I think Pacific and Valor are both 2 hungry teams that are going to completely shake it up.
And here's the thing about Valor as well. They have 3 games left. All 3 are on the road.
Yeah. So they're going to be out of their element and they're going to be going hard. Pacific have a good chance, too, because they're both on 37 points, but Pacific have a game in hand. So they could steal that whole system out right from under them. But FC Narrative, as far as I know, FC Narrative has determined that York and Halifax will both somehow find a way to be in the playoffs and just to fuck the whole system right
up. That would be hilarious. You have like Fords drop out and
Cavalry drop out and Valor goes up.
Yeah, I mean, as great as that would be, you have like Ottawa at the top with York, Halifax, Valor in there. That'd be amazing. But
it'd be such a fucking a shakeup. No, but FC Narrative, like this whole thing, every episode, I've had to go into this being like, this isn't what's supposed to happen in a league.
Well, it hasn't. No,
every fucking week, every single week, it has been this team's league to win. And then when they draw or drop points or lose, then the next game, like 2 hours later, it's that team's league to win. And then they fuck it up in like solid every single week.
Every week it's happening. So it's like, well, fuck it. I mean, with Ottawa going in and Toronto and Valor, I was worried about that game. I mean, is that the next thing we're talking about? Should we just jump into it?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I was gonna say moving on anyways. Because again, going into Valor and Ottawa, 1-1 again. 1-1 between the 2 games. Stats, same scenario. The shots are almost on par. The shots on target are almost on par. Stats are even across the board. Well, the goals weren't within the first 16 minutes. They were more spread out and a bit more drama. It was still a scenario of this was Ottawa's time to shine and really just cement their jump forwards. And here we are.
So I can say this, going into the game, I was actually worried because I know Valor are hungry. Ottawa at times, with the aggressively defensive we are, that could be a recipe for disaster when a team is really hungry and push and push and push and push. I was pretty happy with Ottawa's play. There were times Valor definitely deserved to go ahead, but overall, Ottawa kept it cool. They kept it calm on the back end like they have all season. It's why we've let it won, I think, the least amount of goals, or at least close to that. So Ottawa's been very good at it. But I'm not happy with the draw. And coming out of the draw, it puts us back into the top of the table. But then you have to look at Forge again. And I'm like, fuck, Forge win, we drop down to second. But then they draw, so it's just even more exciting. And I mean, again, beautiful goal from Ollie Bassett. One of the best goals of the season. I don't know how many times we've said that on this podcast, that we've seen one of the best goals of the season, but I think Ollie Bassett just does do that last night, or the other night, sorry. But, yeah, no, great performance from Ottawa. Creates as you like to see, an FC Narrative. Sucks for Valor because I kind of do want to see Valor squeeze in there, but I also don't want to be the team playing Valor in the first round of the playoffs. So regardless, I mean, great result, great finish, and move on to the next one. And all the teams are just like, you know what, we got to move on to the next one at this point.
Is it just me, or do they need to move the corner flags back more, or the goalpost somewhere else? Because kicking it in now from the fucking corners used to be like a rarity and a really like big deal, and now it just seems like it's every week.
In the CPL, in It may not happen every week, but you definitely see players aim for it and they go for it, which is actually annoying. I don't like it. I mean, obviously when it works, you're like
It's-
beauty.
I
but
was
when
like,
it
I don't know what
doesn't-
the fuck you're talking about. That was gorgeous.
Yeah, I
I was all in for it. I mean, it's not a good tactical move. Like,
no,
it's really not.
because when it fails, you look like an asshole.
Oh yeah,
Like get the
100%.
ball in the box. But again, because
100%.
after that, after we tied it, we got another corner. We tried it again. It's like not only are the goalies going to expect it now, but like I don't know. I think it's just like when you have certain players in this league who are a clear step or two above some of these players, they're going to try shit like that. And I think it's why we see a lot of free kick attempts from maybe areas we shouldn't. A lot of shots, like we look at Alman's goal earlier this season. Why is he doing that? Well, it's because he knows he can. I think. I mean, these guys know who they're playing against. They know little things they can get away with. It's a lot different. It's not like you're not playing in the Premier League where a goalie will punch you in the face for this type of shit.
But
It's a totally different thing.
I find personally the CPL just in general is more people willing to take more risks on shots that in other leagues they just want to tried and true chest it down, bring it down, keep it steady. CPL, yeah, guys doing backflips and like cartwheels, and they're like, I'm gonna fucking kick this ball. I don't give a shit. Like, I'm
Well,
gonna kick it.
typically I would say the CPL is a low scoring league. You're not getting much more than a 1-1 on most nights. I think mostly 2 goals is probably the league average. I could be wrong on that, but in my opinion, by watching, I would say it's probably a 2 goal average. So it's a low scoring league. So I think when you have such a low scoring league, it means teams prioritize defense and they have big boys who are giving your job hell, making your job a living hell. So I think they just try to get whatever they can on goal at certain times, and we definitely see it. We don't see a lot of flashy goals in this league. There's examples that we do, but I think a lot of the time it's get the ball on net and see what happens. Almost like a hockey strategy, right? Especially if you're not scoring. They say dump the puck, get it on net. Dump the puck, get it on net. Because Wayne Gretzky said, you score what, zero? What? Oh my god, I
You
can't
miss
believe
100% of the shots
there
you
it
never
is.
take.
I'm fucking Canadian. What the hell is wrong?
Oh
with
yeah, and you're
Ugh.
the hockey. Everybody just
No.
please make sure to tweet at him. I'm calling
Call
me
me
Mike.
Michael. It's great.
And just to make sure that that you're
Not
letting
only
them
am I
know about that hockey quote there, just in case.
Not only am I a hockey fan, I'm also the fan of The Office, and I totally just fucked with that quote.
Yeah.
Fuck, Michael Scott would fire me for that.
Oh, 100%. But you gotta be looking at. I know you think it's like a low scoring league, but in the grand scheme of it, it's not really that far off. I mean, the season's a lot shorter.
Yeah, by 10 games, yeah.
So that's
There's not a lot of clean sheets, so
well,
I don't know, maybe it does average out.
And Forge currently sits at 43 goals. So,
right, so
when you look at even the Premier League, Chelsea last year.
So Forge are averaging like 2 goals a game then.
Yeah, and Chelsea last year sat at 76 for the extra 10 games. So they're really not all that far off in the grand scheme. Yeah, 30. Right, yeah, like 30 goals. It sounds like a lot, but when you have 10 extra games, and you have all of these teams, like the CPL is such a uniform league. If you were to have just the top 8 teams of the Premier League play each other all the time, you wouldn't be pumping up those numbers the same either. Yeah, the reason why it seems like it's more is because you have Southampton that get blown out 8-0 3 times. So yeah, no shit, that's gonna like raise your goal difference.
Though, like, how many blowouts can you think of that's happened in the CPL? I can think of one right off the bat, which was 6-1 Valor over Ottawa. We don't got a lot of those.
And even that was just like what
just
the fuck
shows how
happened.
Close the league is. Yeah, it just shows how close the league really is.
And it's just I find the quality, because they're willing to kind of take those risks. And I think these players may be coming from a place where promotion relegation is a thing for them, so they think, okay, well, we don't have that. We can actually really take these risks. We can really like take these chances and go out there. And there's no, we're right now we're just fighting to get the goal. We want place. We don't want the top. We just want the place and the playoffs. That's what I think actually is working in its favor for giving us some of these fantastic goals. Oh, probably, and we'll see. I really am excited for these next 3 games. Oh, yeah. Personally, I'm really going to keep a very close eye on everything, especially because I really want Edmonton to ruin someone's day. I know it's bad of me.
Who's their last 3 games, do you know?
So Edmonton's last 3 games, as far as I know, are going to be Forge, which
Okay.
could really fucking ruin their
that'd be a
day.
good one.
Pacific, which could ruin their chances in the playoffs.
Please tell me Valor. Please tell me Valor.
And it's Valor, which
Who
could
haven't
ruin.
beat Edmonton since last August.
So their 3 last games are prime for the picking to just ruin someone's day.
And they're all at home, right?
And they're so Forge is at home, Valor's at home, and Pacific is away.
Okay.
But
Still good ending, yeah.
that's still majestic. I mean, like
yeah.
I couldn't personally ask for better, and I'm entirely all for it. So with that, speaking of kind of ruining of someone's flow, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to go to commercials. Don't go anywhere because there's some really interesting news that we got coming up here and some stuff that me and Michael might rant a little bit about. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the video here, or there, wherever it is. And make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our sweet, sweet Canadian content.